Hi, my name is Sarah Vaughn with the City of E-Town, and today I am your host for Issues and Insights. We are so excited for you to join us today. We, as always, have a great topic, a little bit somber today, but extremely important. So we hope that you're able to tune in and learn about how you can help. So today we welcome Jake Richardson in. Jake, it's so good to see you.
Yeah, it's been quite some time.
Apparently it has. We were just talking about how, like the last time I saw you, you had very short hair.
Very short hair.
And
yeah.
apparently that was about 15 years ago
Yeah.
in Timeland. So it's so good to see you.
Likewise.
And the last time I saw you was actually in the mayor's office when you were talking about this passion and what you're working for, and which we're going to talk about. But it's just, I think it's just mind blowing. That's the last time I saw you, and now it's a success and it's going great, and you are leaps and bounds from where you were that day. So tell us about the organization that you're representing today.
Well, I'm here representing the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. It's an organization and a cause that's very near and dear to my heart, from personal experiences with family members, friends, just living in that world. And you mentioned the last time you saw me was in the mayor's office. The last time you saw me, I was just coming up with the concept of what I'm here talking about today.
That's crazy. Good for you.
We do an event every year, and there are several of them throughout the state, called the Out of the Darkness Walk, which is essentially a big fundraising event for AFSP. We use those funds for programming and research, things of that nature to go towards suicide prevention.
Statewide, nationwide?
Statewide. Okay. There are chapters in every state.
Okay.
But of course, I represent the one here in Elizabethtown.
Okay.
And we just recently had our Out of the Darkness Walk this year. We had that on September 17th at Central Hardin High School, where by day's end we had raised over $17,000 for suicide prevention, which was really incredible, and it's something that I never even dreamed of.
What was your goal starting out that day in the mayor's office? What were you thinking and hoping for?
Well, and this is what I tell a lot of people who send questions about the walks to my email or whatever they may be, asking what the walk is, what it's for. My entire goal with the Out of the Darkness Walk, and by extension just work in advocacy in general, is not just to raise funds towards this important goal, but to build a sense of community. From the very beginning, that's what it was about for me.
Okay.
Was creating this sort of environment, this community, this place where people were smarter about mental health, people were more aware about mental health issues, suicide prevention, things of that nature, and most importantly, a community where people who struggle with their mental health believe they aren't alone. Because I know from personal experience, whenever I was at some of the worst times in my life, that was the key sticking factor, was that I felt like I was alone, and that I was going through whatever I was going through by myself.
Okay.
And there wasn't really anyone there at the time to tell me that wasn't the case. So what I strive for more than anything is to create that community of people who are there to support one another and are present to let people know this is not a battle that you fight alone.
And so how do you do that during a fundraiser? Because I'm an event person. I can put on events all day long, but to spread the advocacy, that's a whole different educational piece.
Absolutely.
And it's a recruiting piece, because you're needing those volunteers and you're needing those people to buy in. Not that it's hard to buy in, but you got to get them to step up to the plate, which is hard to do. So how do you do that for folks?
And it's great that you mentioned the volunteers, because this is something that could not be accomplished without the people who support me. Everybody who is on our walk committee has been affected by the cause in some way, has lost a loved one, has dealt with issues themselves, or know someone who has. It's a cause that if you have been touched by it in some way, it's easy to buy in, because you know how prevalent it is, and how misunderstood it is a lot of times.
Yeah.
There are so many factors that go into mental health and suicide prevention that a lot of people don't think of, which is why at every Out of the Darkness event there are materials there, pamphlets, booklets, things of that nature, describing many ways that we can look at mental health and help address it. In addition, AFSP, they put on programming all year long for workplaces, for schools, just all sorts of programming talking about mental health, how we address it, how we look at it, helping to sort of take that stigma away from what a lot of people think of when they think of mental health and suicide prevention and things of that nature, because it's of the utmost importance to realize that it's there.
Right. It's happening.
It's there, and it's
especially
not,
after COVID.
Absolutely, and I was actually getting ready to touch on that. Towards the beginning of the pandemic, it became so much more, I don't want to say understood, but it was so much more common for people to say, hey, maybe I do need a little bit of help. And that's a great thing, I think. It's unfortunate that it took something like that to make that more
So you think
prevalent.
COVID actually
I think
helps the...
I hesitate to say COVID helped anything, but I think...
I know. It's like an oxymoron. You know what I mean?
If anything positive came out of the pandemic, it's that mental health became so much more forefront.
Yes.
More forefront, more understood, and more addressed.
Okay.
People who, like even in my own personal life, people who have never dealt with something like that or have never really talked about it, came forward and were like, I need help. I need help, and I need a community to help me. And
I don't just need a doctor. I don't just need medication. I may need all of these things, but I need daily support.
Exactly.
Daily accountability for the fact that I am important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that somebody loves me. Is there a faith aspect to this at all?
There can be. It definitely depends on the individual.
Okay.
A lot of people find comfort and love in faith and things like that, and that's just as valid as anything else.
Sure.
It's been such a rewarding experience because I get to talk to people, people who, because I'm the walk chair for the Elizabethtown walk, so I head that up every year. I field questions. I talk to people.
You're the front person.
And it's been really remarkable hearing people's stories, because everyone has a different story as to how this has touched their lives in some way.
Okay.
There are some people who...
Suicide or the walk?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Like there are some people who walk just in support of veterans, helping to drop the rates of veteran suicides. There are people who walk because they've lost a loved one, who walk because they themselves struggle. And hearing them talk and hearing where they've been, what they've heard, what they know, it really drives home the fact that this is a living, breathing community that really, like, everyone has their own stories.
Yes.
And
we're not perfect.
No, not at all.
No community is.
No.
And I think a lot of times, when you hear, well, cars got broken into or someone committed suicide, it's like, how does that happen here? Because there are people here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we are far from this great hallmark community that we like to believe that we are. And that's every community. It's not just Elizabethtown or Hardin County
absolutely.
or LaRue County or whatever county. It is everywhere. And I know I used to work for an organization that dealt with rape crisis and child sex abuse. And that was the hardest hurdle. And I assume that that's been one of yours of, you got to get people to recognize that this is happening.
Yeah.
None of us like it. None of us want to talk about it. This is, we would love to have cupcakes and rainbows every day, but it's just not there, and not for everyone.
No.
And even if today is your cupcake and rainbow day, tomorrow may not be. You're going to have a non-cupcake and rainbow day.
Exactly.
And the other thing too, and I like that you said that, it brought forth mental health, because that's another thing that I think we realize as we get older. When we were younger, it was like, oh, he's ADHD. or he's this, or he's depressed, or she's this, or she's this, you know, she deals with this. And then you were put in this box
Yes.
of where you need medication and we're just going to not talk about it, you know. And I feel like that is changing into an educational component of we all have mental health issues.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've especially recently, I've had the chance to.
That's no doctor backing, by the way. That is just my observation of people.
I've had the chance to talk with classes at Central Hardin High School about mental health.
Good.
And one of the things that I tell the kids, and I think is just as important for anyone who struggles with their mental health to hear, is that every human being is so much more than what they're diagnosed as.
You're right.
If I defined myself by the fact that I suffer from anxiety and depression,
that's what you're going to be.
I'm eliminating so much more of what makes me me. And in addition, you say like everything it's not going to be a cupcake and rainbows day every day, which is true. And the thing that I really, really, really want to drive home whenever I talk about this kind of thing is that that's okay.
Right.
It's
right.
It's okay to have
life.
It's okay to have those bad days and to struggle on those bad days,
yes.
because at the end of the day you're a human being. Exactly. and no matter what you're going through, you owe it to yourself to treat yourself with kindness, respect, and patience, because that's the only way you're going to make progress.
Yep.
Is by giving yourself that space to grow, that space to heal.
Yep. And when you're doing, and I like that you're talking to young teenagers, because generation to generation to generation, it's handled differently. And so if these kids are growing up knowing, walking into their workplaces as adults, knowing that, just because they look like this great perfect family, they're not, and that nobody is. And so you are not alone. And I think that that's the biggest thing too, of people realizing that we live in a social media world and we only put the good stuff there, and I think for a lot of teenagers, I'm sure you've heard a lot of stories of, they were stuck at home and they got to see friends that had these perfect lives, and they were stuck in their house that maybe wasn't a great environment. And they were living in that every single day, trying to get through and trying to move forward and not getting any social interaction or any of that. And, that just because people put that out there doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And we know that because we haven't, those of us that are older, we haven't always lived in a social media world.
Right.
So we know the story behind the curtain. But these poor kids don't. They've never not had that social media aspect. So.
And see, that's why I think events like the Out of the Darkness walks are so important.
Yes, let's bring it back, because I am just like all into this conversation. You have to bring it back, Jake.
I love that. That's why I think events like the Out of the Darkness walk are so important. The story I like to tell, I went to my first Out of the Darkness event in 2014.
And why did you go?
Because I knew that I was struggling.
Okay.
And I felt like, again, that sort of idea that there wasn't a community. So I wanted to see what there was and see what I could learn.
Okay.
So I went to my first Out of the Darkness event in 2014. I went to the Out of the Darkness walk in Louisville, which takes place at Waterfront Park every year.
Perfect.
And I got there, and it was unlike anything I had ever experienced. And I tell the story so often because there was a little pre-walk speech given by the area director at the time, and then everyone started to walk. And I remember looking in front of me, seeing hundreds of people, looking behind me, seeing hundreds more, and realizing that there is a community. There are people who understand this, who have been through this, and who are there to support during this. And it's it was a truly life-changing experience to have, because it was at that moment that I knew that advocacy was something I wanted to do.
Okay.
At least in some way, shape, or form. I said, if I can make even one person who is struggling themselves feel the way that I feel right now, then this will all have been.
No one will
worth
ever
it.
commit suicide again.
Right.
Right. If that were possible.
It was such an eye-opening thing, and going into 2020, whenever things actually started rolling with this, I didn't really know what I was doing, because it was my first time ever trying to put anything like this together.
Okay.
But again, I very luckily had a lot of people to support me. Megan Cole, who is the area director of AFSP Kentucky, was there the whole time, sort of helping me through things. And then the pandemic hit, and we had to change a bunch of things.
Just joking.
But even through that year, we did we changed it to what we called an Out of the Darkness experience, where we had it was a pop-up booth that we put in Town Mall, where people could come, get information, donate if they wanted to, and come and go as they pleased, which was a fun experience because again, you got to hear people's stories, you got to hear people talk.
And so there are people that are just reaching for someone.
Absolutely. Oh yes. And in the 2 years where we've actually been able to do an Out of the Darkness walk, you can feel that. There are people on my committee, the people who helped me put this together, who are like, I'm just glad there's something out here now. Because there are human beings who have been trying in some way, shape, or form to reach out or to build that community and haven't had the chance to, haven't known how, or anything like that. So that's it. $17,000 raised is fantastic. I'm very proud of that. I'm so proud of the community we've built here.
Yeah.
I have such brilliant committee members who are from all over Hardin County, who have come to help make this what it is now. And this year at the walk in Elizabethtown, I would wager we doubled our attendance from last year.
And what was the attendance?
Pre-registered, we had over 180.
Wow.
So if everyone who was registered showed up, we at least doubled what we had last year, which is remarkable. It's such an incredible
That is remarkable.
thing.
We have over 45 Ks in this area, and some of them are for a great cause. It used to be over 60. I think that's dropped to around 40. But for 200-300 people to come out for this, and I know it's not a 5K. It's a whole different thing. But for people to do that, it's huge.
Absolutely.
It's huge.
Absolutely.
But we also have over 100,000 people in Hardin County, so we need more.
Oh, and that's the goal, is to keep this thing building year after year to make it something bigger and better every year. Reach out to more people who can then realize the community that they have around them.
And I think too, what would be very beneficial is, you talk about the experience. So when I show up, okay, let's say I show up all by myself because I just heard and I just felt this need to go. What can I expect to see there?
Without a doubt, there is always a buzz around a walk, and what I sort of mean by that is there's this energy about it.
So it's not we're going to get there and talk about mental health. And
no,
it's going to be a really sad day.
You mentioned at the beginning that it was sort of a somber topic, and that's something we try so much to avoid at walk days.
Okay.
Because what we say walk days are about is hope. We have this overarching idea of hope and belief in oneself, belief in one's cause, that we bring throughout the whole day. There's this buzz of general excitement in the air typically, because there are people who are there walking for a reason. They know they're there for a reason, and we always encourage people to know their limits and know where they are in their recovery whenever they come to an Out of the Darkness walk. So a lot of times these are people who are at a place in their recovery, in their journey, whatever it may be, where they feel comfortable being in an environment like this.
Okay.
Where
yeah, because I can see if I'm struggling.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Last thing I want to do is go hang out with a bunch of people I don't know and talk about my feelings.
But there's such an energy about it because everyone's there walking for the same reason.
Nice.
And there are various, especially at the Louisville walks, and what we've tried to do with the Elizabethtown walk is have things to see.
Okay.
We had a silent auction this year that went over very well, but we also have like resource tables where you can get those information brochures and pamphlets that I talked about.
I can grab that and go back and
Absolutely.
I can read it in my privacy.
There are what we call honor beads, which are various different colors that represent various different causes and connections to the cause. Like I wear blue, teal, and green. Blue representing support of the cause, teal representing support of someone who struggles, green representing a personal struggle.
Nice.
So there are colors.
Kind of your badge of
absolutely.
This is why I'm here, and I don't have to.
You don't have to hide it.
Say it.
Yeah.
But I also don't have to hide it.
And that those are free for everyone if they want them, and more than anything, there's, in addition to that buzz, there are people who are smiling, who are happy to be there. There's again this sense of community that is so lacking whenever we talk about mental health a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I credit the Out of the Darkness walks in a lot of ways for introducing that community to me, and by extension, helping me to introduce that community to other people. And then, you start walking, and it's especially with where we've been doing it. We did it at Central Hardin this year.
On the track.
Around the track.
Okay.
It's a walk as much as you want, as little as you want. You don't even have to stay for the whole time if you don't want. Whatever you're comfortable with, wherever you are, and whatever you get out of it. That's what we want.
And as I'm walking, am I talking to people? Are there people that are placed that kind of?
Oh yes.
Well, I can tell he's by himself, and I'm going to go say, "Hey, why are you here?"
Yeah,
Talk to us.
Absolutely.
And are there counselors? Are there, what kind of support do you have there during?
Well,
the walk?
we had Lincoln Trail Behavioral Health there this year.
Awesome. Last
year, Communicare joined us. We're hoping every year to get more and more of them involved. Both of them at the same time would be great.
Yeah.
Just having those resources there. In addition, again, we have all of our brochures and pamphlets, and every one of our volunteers, our committee members, is also stationed there. Now, none of us, at least to my knowledge, none of us are mental health professionals.
Okay.
But there is still that idea of support, that idea of community, where even though we may not be able to help or, fix, quote unquote, we are there to support. We know why you're here.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here.
And maybe that's all the help that they
Absolutely.
really need right then.
And we're happy that you're here.
Yeah. Maybe therapy and a counselor is not the step they're ready for, but we have avenues for that, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I know I've done 5Ks in the past, and I've done walks and things like that, and $17,000 is impressive.
Thank you.
I've never hit that mark. So kudos to you and your team and the volunteers. How do people get involved year-round? Not just the walk as well, but how do people get involved if they say, you know what, maybe I've seen family members or friends deal with that. I'm hard-pressed to find anybody that's never dealt with suicide in some way, shape, or form, just like cancer, And so how do people get involved throughout the entire year, and then the walk as well?
My biggest advice would be to keep tabs on AFSP's social medias, especially Facebook.
Say what it stands for again, because you keep using that in case they tune in later. No, you're fine.
The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Okay.
And there is a specific Facebook page for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's Kentucky chapter. And a lot of times they will post volunteer orientations for you to learn how to be a volunteer, what volunteer opportunities may come.
Give an example of a volunteer opportunity.
Like helping to table events.
Okay.
I know there was Kentuckiana Pride not too long ago, and there was a tabling opportunity for that needed volunteers. Opportunities like that to help table events or volunteer at a walk, help set up, tear down.
What about hotlines or?
Absolutely, there are the crisis prevention hotline is available right on the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's website, AFSP.org.
Do you know how many calls that gets?
I don't.
Off the top of your head?
I don't right off the top of my head.
Okay.
No, but I know that information is out there for sure, and it may even be that way on AFSP's website.
Okay.
Again, AFSP.org.
I feel like it's right there, it's front and center as soon as you get to the site.
And if social media is not someone's forte, there is also a specific Kentucky-based subsection of the AFSP website, afsp.org/Kentucky.
Okay.
There you can get volunteer opportunities, find walks in the area. I know for people who are living in Hardin County who may have missed the Elizabethtown walk, the next couple that are coming up, Bowling Green has a walk on October 9th.
October 9th, okay.
And Louisville has one on November 5th.
And then go to the website to sign up for that?
Yes. And that's afsp.org/Bowling Green, afsp.org/Louisville, or if, donations for the Elizabethtown walk could go through the end of the year.
Okay.
afsp.org/Elizabethtown. People can donate and people can read up on what we've done, what we plan to do.
In September, we have not mentioned this, and I apologize because I get into the conversation and I ignore all the important notes. But September is Suicide Prevention Month, which we have closed in on September by the time this will air. And I would say that's a huge point that you want to bring up.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's why I have the walk in September. There's a time frame every year to have the walk. Yeah, we could put it in October, but I prefer having it in September to connect with that cause, because it's like we've said, it's become so much more talked about.
Yes,
it's not something that people are afraid of.
Good.
Anymore. Because
of people like yourself.
Not as much. Well, I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, you're stepping up to the plate and you're talking about it. Again, it's not something people enjoy talking about or dealing with. And it's our job, if we are mentally healthy, it is our job to step up and help those that are not. Because we're all going to be there if we haven't already. And we're going to need that help. And so thank you for doing that. And we are running out of time.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Because I could talk all day.
Oh, I could too. Trust me.
So one last website or phone number, or how do I reach you if I want to get more info on any of this?
If you go to afsp.org/Elizabethtown, my contact information is right there.
And what is the phone number, just so people know?
502-203-8090.
And the website,
that'll connect you to me, afsp.org/Elizabethtown.
afsp.org/Elizabethtown. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Again, Jake, thank you to you and all of your volunteers and your friends. I know working as a city employee, I just do events, and I would love to step out for all the causes, and I can't, and we can't. We have to have community members like yourself to do that. And so thank you from the city of Elizabethtown and from our community for doing this. And if you want to help, if you know someone that's struggling with suicide or mental health in general, if you yourself are, there are resources. You have a community, and there is a community around you to tell you that we love you and that we're here for you. And so make sure you check that out at afsp.org. Jake, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in.